Welcome back. Welcome back to React Basics. This is going to be part 3 in total. We just got done hooking up our API. If you look at React Basics 2, it covers all that stuff. So we're going to jump right in, right where we left off, and we're going to start talking about context. There's really good documentation if you just Google React. Oh, I hate when it does that. React. Let's do React.js. It gets used to certain searches and it's optimizing it for me, but it can be annoying. But anyway, you go to the react.js.org site. In their documentation, in their advanced guides, you go to context, and they've got a bunch of examples and stuff, and I'll try to include this link in the description. But I'm just going to show you how to use it. And this is what, if you're an more experienced React user and say you've used, I don't know, Material UI or Redux or any of these other things with a provider type component, Apollo, React Apollo. A lot of these things use the context behind the scenes. So we've got this user here in our state of our app component, and we can easily use it. We can easily just make a p tag and put in, we'll say, well, first we can, up here we can say, const user equals this.state. Here we can say user.username. Basically, we're just putting this little check in because we are performing asynchronous function here. And right now, our user state starts out as null. This takes time to execute. Therefore, if we just try to access user.username without putting this, first it's got to check for the user. If we just had user.username, it would be like, there is no username. There's no username property on null, and it would throw an error. But let's boot the server back up. I'll boot the server back up. And this is just real simple, state is in this component, therefore we can access state really easily. Or so I thought. Oh, I'm sorry, user.name. We didn't say username, it's just user.name. That's why it didn't show up. There we go. So you can see you can access and use state very easily because state is already in this component. Now, say, let's create a new file. Excuse me, let's create a new file in the SRC directory. And we'll just call it homepage.js. And inside of homepage.js, let's just make a simple functional component. So we'll just export default function, return some JSX inside a div. we'll return an h1 tag with the username. Okay. So we've got this homepage tag. It returns a div with an h1 in it. Of course, we have to import it if we want to use it in our app component. Let's import it. So to do that, we'll just import homepage from /homepage. And down here, stick in the home page. Right? So now we got username, right? So if we want to use props, which is pretty simple, straightforward React technique, right here we'll say user, pass down the user object. We'll say user, and that'll be user because right here we're referring it. It's really this.state.user. So we'll pass the user down as props, right, to the homepage component. And right here, okay, it's getting user as props. So here we could say props, just in regular sense, and then here we could say, props.username, right? But we can destructure it into its various parts. So we can say name, page, and photo. Or actually, rather, I'm sorry. First, we want to destructure off the user, and then off of that, off of our user, we can destructure name, page, and photo. So here we can say name. And another way to, I believe, to do the check is like that. But let me just make sure that works. Okay, no, that throws that null error. Basically because right here, another way to get rid of that null error would be to, instead of null as our initial state, we can provide the actual object shape. So we can say name, page, photo, and that should take care of those null reference errors. So now we get the username is Benjamin. Let's say I was doing H3 tag, we'll say age. And we don't need this or clause right here. I was just trying something there. Right now, all we need is that. And now we can even provide an image. And, oops, we'll actually make the SRC of the image photo. And age is going to be age. I don't know why I did that. Is it all just being good practice is user photo for user on the user avatar. Okay. And for the style, just make sure it's not super huge on us. We'll just say 20 VH for height real quick. Let's say that. And there you go. We got our information from the back end to the front end. And that's props. So we pass the user down via props to homepage. But say we don't want to do it like that. Say in our home page component, we actually want to put we want to create a component. Let's create a new file. And we'll call this one user card.js. Say in our homepage component, we're like, we've got H1 here, homepage, and there's other stuff going on. And instead of rendering it out like that, we want to render out a user card like this. So we'll import user card from /user card. So often, and let's make a component here real quick. We'll do the same simple functional component that we did before. And notice I don't use curlies, I use parentheses. That just saves me from having to write a return statement. You do the parentheses, it's an automatic return. So here we're going to make our user card. And if we had it set up like this, right, we were passing in, user here, right? So we'd have to do something like, okay, and here, we have to pass, age equals age. We have to pass it down like that to the user card, right? So we're not going to do that. We're going to use context. So the context allows you to skip having to pass down all your stuff like that, right? So right now, let's just say user card right here for now. Save this, save that, and we don't want to pass down anything right now. Alright, so we've got the component from our app, then it goes into our homepage component, and then even down further to our user card component. So you can imagine in a bigger app you'd have many different layers and components. Obviously much more complex than this, but this will give you the basic idea, right? So how do we start using context? I'm going to go off of the documentation here. So I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it user-context.js. Right. Import React from React. I'm going to say export const user context equals React dot create context. And here you can pass in the default value. So pick a default user here, just like we did for the state before. So we're going to say export const user let me make it capital letters. Or no, let's just call it default user equals an object, name property, age property, and the photo property. And we'll pass that in. Pass it in like that. Alright. So then in our app, we'll import in brackets, we'll import that user context, and we'll import that default user from /user context. Okay. So instead of writing all that out, we can actually write that, save us a little space right there. And what we can do now we can wrap. So wrap it right here. We can say user context dot provider, the value say this, or actually we just say user because we've already broken it off of state up there. Okay. And let's stick the home page inside of that. Okay. Now we've created this provider context object with the value of this.state.user. Of course, begins as default user, which is just what we had it as, which is name, age, photo. And then, of course, when we do our component will mount, we do our call to our backend, and we update the state with the new user that we get. And it's being passed down to the rest of the app, whatever part of the app is within this provider, right? So we'll save that. Now we can go back to our user card. We don't have to do anything. We can skip this whole layer. We don't have to do the props thing we did before. We can now go to user card, and we'll import in brackets. We'll bring in that user context. /user context. And you can see another great thing. Let me just plug in for Visual Studio Code. You notice how it's doing all these autocomplete things for me. I really like that about it. So that's a pretty cool part of Visual Studio Code, right? So, all right, get rid of that. Now we can say user context.consumer. And inside here, we actually use what's called render props. So it's going to take in, we're going to put it in brackets, and we're going to actually return a function inside of there. So in this case, it's our user. Whatever value, so you can have many different contexts. We just name this context user context. So you can create all kinds of different contexts for your app if you want. But we're keeping it simple. We're using the user context, and this is basically this user. You can call it anything you want here, really, but it's actually getting passed in this value prop right here. This value prop, whatever your value prop is, all right? It's getting passed in as our user, all right? Just like before, we're going to return in parentheses. We're going to return a div as div and h3 user.name. H4, you can make these whatever you want, it really doesn't matter. User.age. Say age. User.photo. put a style. I always put a 20 VH style on that. Put a style on here too, why not? Okay. We'll leave it like, oh, let's give it a width. I'm just doing a little basic style on here, that's all. Very simple. Very simple styling. You know, so that's essentially how you use context. So what we're able to do, you can see how this would save you a lot of extra typing and stuff like that. And you know, a lot of the examples deal with like if you want to make your own theme, you know, you have certain background colors, certain text colors, and you just want to be able to change them in one spot. You know, you'd be able to change them right here. You could hard code in whatever you want, you know, and you can totally skip having to pass it through as props. So you use this consumer and provider, and it's really pretty cool. And we're going to take it one step further. You can actually have functions. Let's see, we got a warning for not providing an alt tag on our image. So to keep with good practices, we'll say user avatar. Make that go away. And you know, we're able to access that context in here. So just, I don't know, just for fun, I'll show you how to pass a function through as well. So back in our user context, we have our default user. So instead of just passing the default user here, we can actually pass an object in. So we'll say our user, and we're just passing default value. So our user's default value is default user, and we'll call this is just a method here. We'll just call this fountain of the youth. And we'll just give that a simple arrow function signature like that, just to let it know that it's just a function, right? So back in our app, let's let's get rid of that real quick. And we'll leave that blank for a second. Right? So we've got this state, user default user, that's fine, okay. So what else we can do is we can say this fountain of youth equals a function that returns this set state. We actually pass a function into the set state, so we can say instead of a property, let's pass a function, which is a function of state. Let's have that function return an object. And before that, let's say age equal state.age. Is that, let's say age minus 1. Photo. And state.photo. So let's try that. We've got our state, we've got our fountain of youth. I just want to look at something really quick. I'm going to look at one of their examples real quick. Just to save us. Okay, here we go. I just wanted to make sure I was getting this right. So we've got this fountain of youth, which is, it's not state yet. It's just a property of app, right? That we're declaring in the constructor. So in our state, our user is the default user. And we'll say fountain of youth is this, that fountain of youth, right? Now, when we pass in this value, we can just say this.state, right? Okay. It's now going to include okay, I put this age in the wrong spot. So cut that. That's going to go right there. We can access this state until we put it into the function, right? So I just had that on the wrong line. Okay. So this is a little bit of a sort of why would you ever do this in real life example, but maybe this is a login, log out toggle function or something like that, right? We're talking about users, or maybe this assigns them a new photo. Maybe they uploaded a new photo. Whatever the case may be, you can attach methods, and we've declared it. This is an unusual thing. We don't usually declare state in our constructor, but we can actually declare a method, and we usually don't set state. We usually say we pass an object, right? We are returning an object, so we're doing the same thing, but we're actually able to access as a function the set state. Actually, it would actually take state and props if you want it to. So, but you can look into more of that on your own. But then when we declare state, of course, we declare state as our default user. That gets rid of any null errors because we are performing this asynchronous action. And we can say, okay, fountain of youth is part of state, and that is actually referring back to this fountain of youth. And then we pass all of that as our value into the provider. And if you remember, we set this up by saying, okay, the default value for the provider for user is default user, and the default value for fountain of youth is just a blank method. Now, back on our user card, instead of just the user now, we're going to destructure again. Destructuring is very key for all this stuff. Now we've got user, and we've got fountain of youth. So what we can do is right here, pop another div in here. We'll put that age in, and we'll slide in a button. And we'll say make me younger. We'll just add an on click. And we'll just call that fountain of youth function. And right here, let's just pass another style object. Make things look a little better. Passing space between, see what that looks like. This around. Passing some padding. ODW. Background color. I don't know. Triple C maybe. See what that looks like. That button looks a little bit clunky. These styles aren't really important. Passing line items into this container div. Okay. So that's enough of that. But now we've got our button. One more for the button. Cursor pointer. I mean, really, I would do class names and stuff like that. I don't really like passing them myself, but for this, we want to make it look right. So we should be able to click this button. Uh-oh. That's a problem. We screwed something up. Okay, let's go back. I have a feeling it's in this right here. Okay, let's see. Changing that and actually declaring new age outside of it helps. No. I had this working before, which is what they all say, right? Okay. So what am I doing here? We can debug together now. Our user state is now somehow just age equals no. That is totally not what we wanted. Let's see. How about new user? Sometimes setting state can be kind of funky. I'm making an obvious mistake that somebody sees. try doing it like that. Still no good. Oh, I wish I didn't delete the original example I built where it worked. So we're still debugging. Age and photo. Click just calls that fountain view function. Which is there. Everything looks right. try this here. I may have been forgetting to put in .user. Well, everything doesn't crash that time. So we're on the right track, but we're still getting not a number for age. Oh, state.user.age -1. Aha! So thanks for bearing with me for what was probably 15 minutes of me being a bonehead. Passing functions down, making me 18 again. There we go. That's just how I wanted things right there. What I would do different. But just remember, the moral of the story is when you are using state, when you're using a function of state to set state, just remember that if your initial state is an object, so obviously this user is an object with properties name, age, and photo. I was trying to access state.name. Okay, that doesn't exist. State.age, that doesn't exist. State.photo, none of those exist. So very simple mistake, even for someone like me. I've been using React for a little bit now, and JavaScript in general. Easy to make those simple mistakes, especially when just coding off the cuff like that. Maybe you caught it right away, but sometimes trying to make a video and brain farting happens. And I knew it because I had just made yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, I was playing around with this, and I made almost the very same function and got it working, but I just wanted to remake the entire project here with you guys. So I just deleted that. I was like, I'll just make it again. It was no problem. But little things like that. But that's basically how you pass down. You can pass down a function and use the context API. I hope I didn't waste too much of your time debugging everything, and I hope you got something out of this video. All right, only 48 minutes long. Sweet.